Hi, everybody. Welcome to Bench Racing. My name is Steve Hansen. Today's topic, guys, it's going to cover kids in racing. And before we get too wound up about it, this is my take on it. I'm not talking about the 18-year-olds and such that are in the upper tiers of NASCAR, but what I'm talking about are 10-year-old kids and younger being I'll say this carefully, pushed into upper divisions of racing in that like late models and prolates and things like that. Y'all, there's a reason why 10-year-old kids do not get driver's license. I'm not saying that kids that age can't wheel a car, racing vehicle better than grown-ups. It's not the point about talent. It's the point about mentality. It's the point about maturity. And there's a world of difference between what a 10-year-old thinks like and what a 17-year-old thinks like. I've coached little kids in football, in basketball, and I can tell you the difference between a 10-year-old mindset and a 17-year-old mindset. That being said, I do not think that we do these kids justice, or parents do these kids justice, by pushing them along and stuffing them in a late model stock car, pro late lot, whatever you want to division you want to talk about. In the sense that it would be different if they're all driving, if they're all in the same age group. That's one thing. But when you're putting a kid in a division with grown men, with young men, it's worlds different. I'm not talking about driving talent. I'm talking about between the right and left ear, and the the other concept of this that bothers me is, quite frankly, this. So you put little Sparky in a race car, and he goes out there and competes with adults, and he causes a problem. Even if he doesn't cause a problem, even if he doesn't cause a problem, he gets caught in an accident. Okay, so you're in the other car or whatever. So you go to have a conversation with the driver, and you can't do it because mommy, daddy, uncle, grandpa, whatever's standing in the way. So little Johnny doesn't get his feelings hurt, or somebody doesn't say inappropriate to him. So this is the other thing. If you're going to put the kid in a car and put him up against adults, they ought to be able to handle the repercussions, good or bad, instead of letting mom and dad. But I'll back up and say this right now. I've seen grown ass people go and hide behind their pit crew and their wife or their whatever, and not take the consequences, or their team owner, and take the consequences of their actions, good or bad. Okay, so there is that. But the premise of everything, everybody, is I don't know where we got out of alignment with letting kids drive race cars and compete with adults. Okay, I know it happens in go karts, and I get that. I get all that. I mean, I'm going to get responses and stuff. I get all that. But that being said, I really the other problem I'm going to bring up is, quite frankly, this, everybody, and let's talk about the liability issues for a team owner, for a track owner. Okay, you let this kid go out there and compete, and something I don't if something happens, okay, Lord knows we don't want that to happen, but if something happens, can you imagine the outcry, the lawsuits and stuff for letting a kid get in a race car and he gets hurt or worse? Okay, so there's that aspect of it. So all I'm saying with this whole video, everybody, is it's one thing to put teenagers in race cars. Okay, it's another thing to put 10-year-olds in race cars and have them go compete against 10-year-olds and younger, 10, 12-year-old, whatever. There's got to be some sanity come about this at some point, everybody, because you're just begging for a mess. And I've heard I've watched videos where a comment's made about a kid, and then everybody piles on this guy for making a comment, and then So in the comments I saw was double edged. So this guy was a piece of crap for making a comment about a 10-year-old kid, but then they called this kid one hell of a wheelman. A 10-year-old kid is not a wheelman. Okay, he's not a man. He might be a good driver, but he's not a wheelman. So you're kind of doing double standards in a way, in my opinion. This is my opinion. Okay, you're doing double standards. You're getting on this guy for getting on a little kid. Well, if he's a kid, then what's he doing in an adults racing division? Okay, it would be no different if this guy would have called out some other person and said, "Well, he's a pile of crap driver." Okay, well, so an age connotation about this kid, and now he's a pile of crap. But if he'd have said it about a grown ass man, would have been different. This is the thing, and this is the final point I'm trying to make. If you're going to put a kid in an adults division, he's going to have to, him and the parents and everybody of his supporters are going to have to take it. Okay, quit getting on people because of their opinions. Okay, again, this is my opinion. Y'all can get on me and stuff. That's fine. And again, the other aspect of this that I want to bring out is I read where, well, if we don't let these kids have a chance, the sport ain't going to grow. That's a load of crap, everybody. The sport will grow just fine. It has for years without having 10-year-old kids get into these race cars. And if funding and stuff is the future of with these 10-year-old kids getting into these cars this early, they have plenty of time to grow into these cars. Okay, they got plenty of time. But to say that the future of the sport's going to die because we don't put a 10-year-old kid in a race car is asinine. Simply asinine. So with that, everybody, that's what's kind of got me cankered today. Please respond with your comments and stuff in the and give the channel a subscribe if you would, please. But with that, everybody, again, I want to finish by saying this. I have nothing against kids getting into racing. We do need that for the sport to grow. What I do have a problem with is putting 10, 12-year-old kids in divisions against grown adults. That's the point. Have a great day, everybody, and always remember, it's better to have raced and went broke than to have never.